In fighting, you must be confident. But what happens when you're too confident? What happens when you're dropping your hands, shaking your head, maybe even doing a little dance? I'll tell you what happens. You get completely humiliated. It's a reality check delivered by a fist to the face, a lightning-fast kick, or a trip to the canvas that you never see coming. Today we're diving into the most insane moments when overconfident fighters got taught a lesson they'd never forget. These are the stories of instant karma, where arrogance got destroyed, and a highlight reel knockout became the ultimate punchline. First up is Prince Naseem Hamed. This guy was a legitimate phenomenon in the 90s. He wasn't just a boxer, he was a superstar, undefeated with insane knockout power. But it was his personality that made him famous. He was the king of showboating, a master of mind games who was so arrogant it was almost hypnotic. His ring entrances were legendary, sometimes lasting longer than his actual fights. He'd flip over the top rope, dance, and sneer before a single punch was thrown. He literally fought with his hands by his side, using crazy reflexes to dodge punches, only to fire back with a knockout shot. In his mind, he was invincible. On April 7, 2001, that invincibility was put to the ultimate test against Marco Antonio Barrera. The fight was literally called Playing with Fire. On one side was Hamed, the wild power puncher. On the other was Marco Antonio Barrera, the baby-faced assassin, a disciplined, technical monster from Mexico. Barrera was the underdog, but he was not going to be a walk in the park. The build-up was all about Hamed. It was his huge American TV debut, and he was guaranteed to make $6 million. To him, Barrera was just another guy he was going to knock out. The fight started with another one of Hamed's massive entrances, but once the bell rang, everything changed. Barrera had a 1000 IQ game plan. Instead of running right into Hamed's power, he did the exact opposite. He stayed outside, circled, used his jab, and completely frustrated the prince. He refused to get into a brawl. Barrera wasn't just fighting, he was teaching. He proved that discipline could absolutely dismantle chaos. For the first time ever, Hamed looked like he had no idea what to do. His wild knockout punches were hitting nothing but air, while Barrera just picked him apart with clean shots. As the fight went on, Barrera completely outboxed the untouchable Hamed. He landed more punches, he controlled the fight, and he shut down all of Hamed's power. The prince's usual tricks weren't working. The taunts, the low hands, the cocky smiles. Nothing. It was actually working against him. And in a moment of pure frustration in the last round, Hamed missed a wild punch, and Barrera literally slammed his head into the turnbuckle. He got a point taken away, but he sent a message. It was pure dominance. When the final bell rang, it wasn't even close. The judges gave the win to Marco Antonio Barrera. He hadn't just beaten Naseem Hamed, he had destroyed the myth of his invincibility. It was Hamed's first and only loss. The showman had been humbled, and his perfect record was gone forever. The prince was dethroned, not by a lucky punch, but by a perfect strategy and a hard lesson in humility. This is Adrien the Problem Broner, and everyone thought he was going to be the next Floyd Mayweather. He had blinding hand speed and was a world champion who copied Floyd's style. He had the shoulder roll, the flashy combos, and most of all, the insane arrogance. He talked trash to everyone, disrespected his opponents, and walked into every fight like he had already won. By late 2013, he was undefeated and held a welterweight title. His next opponent was Marcos Maidana, a beast from Argentina. Maidana was a pressure fighter with scary power, but nobody thought he was as skilled as Broner. Broner treated Maidana like he was a nobody. The fight, however, turned into a complete nightmare for the Problem. From the first second, Maidana was not intimidated. He stormed forward, throwing huge, powerful punches from every angle, giving Broner no room to breathe. But Broner kept up his act. He showboated, he taunted, and in one of the weirdest moments you'll ever see, he literally humped Maidana in the clinch. It was pure disrespect. Karma did not make him wait. In the second round, Maidana unleashed a vicious left hook that sent the undefeated champion crashing down for the first time in his career. Broner was badly hurt, but somehow survived. But it was too late. Maidana's insane pressure was solving the problem. Broner landed some good punches, but he just couldn't keep the Argentinian bull off of him. He tried to keep showboating, but the swagger was gone. He was just trying to survive. In the 8th round, Maidana landed another monster left hand, dropping Broner to his knees for a second time. Broner was completely battered and humbled. When the final bell rang, there was no doubt who won. Marcos Maidana won a clear decision, taking Broner's title and his undefeated record. The image of a defeated Broner scrambling out of the ring while the crowd booed and threw drinks at him is iconic. He walked in as the next superstar. He left as a total joke. A fighter whose mouth wrote a check his skills couldn't cash. For an entire decade, Roy Jones Jr. wasn't just the best boxer in the world. He was a boxing god. His speed and power were things nobody had ever seen before. He was so dominant. He made amazing fighters look like they didn't even belong in the ring with him. He was the undisputed king, and by 2004, he looked completely unbeatable. His first fight against Antonio Tarver, however, showed he might not be invincible. Jones won a decision that a lot of people disagreed with, and Tarver was furious. This set up a massive rematch on May 15, 2004, and this one was personal. The build-up was intense. Tarver was overflowing with confidence. He truly believed he had figured out how to beat the king. Jones, still confident, maybe underestimated how hungry Tarver was. As the two men stood in the center of the ring, Antonio Tarver leaned in and asked a question that would go down in history. He looked the king dead in the eye and said, "You got any excuses tonight, Roy?" The first round was all Roy Jones Jr. He was fast, aggressive, and easily won the round. He looked like he was in total control. In the second round, Jones kept pressing, while Tarver waited for one mistake. And then, it happened. As Jones moved in, Tarver unleashed a thunderous, perfectly timed overhand left that exploded on Jones's chin. Jones crashed to the canvas, his head bouncing under the ropes. It was only the second time he'd ever been knocked down. He was completely out of it. He stumbled trying to get up. His legs were gone. He finally got to his feet, but it was too late. The referee waved the fight off. Antonio Tarver had knocked out the invincible Roy Jones Jr. The knockout was so shocking, people compared it to Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. In one single punch, a decade of dominance was just gone. The king had been knocked out for the first time ever, and the man who did it was the one who dared to ask for his excuses beforehand. It was a brutal lesson in the oldest rule of boxing. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. From princes to spiders, from problems to bombers to kings, the lesson was always the same. In a sport where you have to be confident, arrogance can be your biggest weakness. And it has absolutely no time for arrogance. Which one of these karma-filled moments was the most satisfying? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that celebrates the brutal honesty of combat sports. Thanks for watching.